Cool. Well, let's get started finding our comfortable sitting position so that we can have a few minutes to turn our home space into our yoga space. It doesn't matter what this looks like, it's just an opportunity to find a little bit of comfort and get ready for our class. You can drop the hands wherever they fall and maybe start to draw the attention inward, bringing all of the focus onto the breath. Just noticing the inhale and the exhale. It doesn't need to be about achieving anything special. It's just creating a little point of focus and concentration. And if the attention starts to run away, that's fine. Just draw it back to the breathing as soon as you can. Let's take one more breath in. One more exhale. Let's blink the eyes open. And let's get to doing some moving. So we're going to start with the shoulders, the arms, the hands. So where the hands are in front of you, maybe start to wiggle the fingers a little bit back and forth. And then maybe lift the palms so they're pointing forward. You won't get them the whole way forward, but just so that they're pointing ahead of you. And then maybe scrunch the fingers in and out. Then maybe rotating the wrists a little bit. And then we'll start spreading it up the arms, moving the elbows from one side to another, wiggling the upper arms as well. And then maybe lifting the arms up overhead, one side to the other. You can make it quick, you can make it slow, I don't mind. And then we'll bring them together at the top and we'll interlace the fingers and then turn the hands upside down, lift up towards the sky and take a big, long little stretch, maybe pushing into one side and then the other. Maybe nod the head a little bit, shake the head a little bit, and then release the hands back down. And we're going to bring them to the mat. We're going to come to our tabletop position. We're going to see about getting ready for our first downward dog. So we'll start with the spinal stretches, maybe with the shoulders over the wrists and taking an inhale, dropping the belly down towards the floor. And exhale, rounding the spine, pulling the chin towards the chest, really pushing into the mat like you could lift off. And then breathe in, lift the head up, drop the belly down. And exhale, round the spine, chin towards the chest. And one last time, let's inhale, lift the head up, drop the belly towards the mat. And on the exhale, let's bring it all back to neutral in the center. We're going to separate the hands out so the fingers are really as far apart as we can get them. We're going to tuck the toes underneath the body and we're going to lift the hips up towards the sky for our first downward dog. First one's always the hardest one. Feel free to pedal the feet a little bit, maybe step the feet back a little bit if you need more space. Have a little wiggle into the hips at the side, maybe stretching out to open the ribs. Thinking about lifting the hips a little bit higher every time. Take a breath in. And an exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees, look forward. Let's inhale, step the right foot forward and the left foot forward.
Let's grab hold of our opposite elbows, take a little sway one side to the other, maybe opening out through the backs of the legs by straightening them as you sway. And then let's bring it to center, dropping the hands towards the floor, maybe bend the knees. And breathe in to roll everything upright, taking your time. And once we're there, let's take our Surya Namaskara A. So breathe in, lift the hands up towards the ceiling, gaze up. Then exhale, fold the hands down to the mat, bend the knees. Let's inhale to the fingertips or bring the hands to the shins, lengthening the backs of the legs. And exhale, let's plant the hands, step the right foot back and the left foot back to our plank. And let's lower it down, knees first if you wish, tucking the elbows in. Inhale forward to our cobra. You can do this on the forearms if you fancy it or you feel stiff. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Not always easy to get used to downward dog, especially early in the morning. So have a look at the hands, maybe separating the fingers a little further. You can keep the knees bent for as long as you wish. You can pedal the feet, start getting the backs of the legs used to straightening out if you want to. Always thinking about lifting with the hips. Inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and look forward. Inhale, step the right foot forward and the left foot forward. Let's bring it to the fingertips, lengthening the backs of the legs for our halfway lift. And exhale, plant the hands, bend the knees. Breathe in, let's push into the feet, straighten the legs, stretch the arms up overhead, look up. And exhale, back to standing. Surya Namaskara B this time. Let's take a breath in, arms up overhead and sit back into our Utkatasana, chair pose. And exhale the hands down to the mat, keeping the knees bent. Let's inhale to the fingertips, lengthen the backs of the legs. And exhale, plant the hands, step it back to our plank position, any way you choose. And exhale to lower it down, your choice of how. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Let's inhale that right leg forward between the hands, drop the left heel down, stretch the arms up overhead, front leg bent for our warrior one. And exhale the hands back to the mat, step the right foot back to join the left in plank and lower it down. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Let's inhale that left leg forward between the hands, drop the right heel down, stretch the arms up overhead, front leg bent. And exhale the hands back to the mat, step the left foot back to our plank and let's lower it down. Inhale forward to our upward dog or cobra. And exhale, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. So we've come to our Surya Namaskara B a little bit quicker than we might do usually. So you still might notice some things in the body that feel a little bit stiff. However, we should still have a little bit of heightened heat, heightened heart rate, heightened breathing rate. So all good. Take a breath in and an exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and look forward. Inhale, step or jump it to the top of the mat, lengthening through the backs of the legs. Reach the fingertips towards the floor. And exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands. Inhale, let's reach the arms up overhead, sitting back into our chair. And let's exhale it back to standing. So we're going to come back for our chair position again. So take a big breath in, reach the arms up overhead. And on the exhale, let's sit down into our chair. Maybe sinking a little bit lower than we did first time around. Breathe in. And exhale, keeping the arms nice and straight and really long. Inhale. And exhale. Let's take one more breath in here.
And on the exhale, let's start to float the arms forward, almost pushing the torso onto the legs and sitting a little bit lower. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's start to straighten the legs, reaching the hands towards the feet. Separate the feet out to hip width distance or further if you fancy it, that's fine. And if you can reach towards the big toes, maybe looping the peace fingers around both big toes. Get a super good grip. You can hang on to the ankles as well if you wish. If you've got space, you can straighten the backs of the legs. And if you have even more space, you can start to bend the elbows out to the side, really surrendering the head down, letting it all drop. This might still feel pretty stiff. It's very early in the morning. Maybe parts of the body haven't woken up yet. So if this doesn't go as far as it usually does for you, don't be disappointed or upset with yourself. Bodies need a little bit of time to wake up. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale here. And on the exhale, let's release the fingers from wherever they are near the feet. Let's bring the hands to the hips, tuck the chin towards the chest. And on the breath in, let's lift everything back upright, torso straight up in the air. Take the time that you need. And then let's release the hands back down. Maybe give everything a little bit of a wiggle. We're going to point the left foot forward and step the right foot out behind us. So coming in for our triangle pose. So pointing that right foot in at 45 degrees. Bringing the arms to parallel, take a breath in. Reach that left hand forward as far as it'll go. And on the exhale, left hand down towards the floor, right arm up towards the ceiling. If you find that you feel a little bit off balance or unsure, you can look towards the left foot. Otherwise, on a breath in, maybe look up overhead towards the ceiling and use the exhale to twirl the chest towards the ceiling even more. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the left foot if we're not there already. Let's inhale to lift those arms back to our parallel position. Have a look down at your left foot and we're going to shuffle it out to the left side of the mat. So giving yourself plenty of space. And then we're going to lower both hands down to the floor inside that left leg and the left knee will bend. Have a look back at your right foot and pivot onto the right toes so that you're pointing forward in a sort of low lunge. We're going to start to open out with the hips. So maybe rocking forwards and backwards like this. Maybe that's enough this morning. Maybe you can drop the knee down to the mat and feel it a little bit more extended. And if you fancy it, you can go a little bit further. You can drop onto the forearms to get even deeper. Or if you wish, you can lift the left arm away from the mat and use it to push the left leg out to the side. So the outer edge of the left foot is on the mat instead. It sort of depends on, plenty of this might feel really stretchy, but maybe there's one bit of it that just feels nicer than the rest that you want to stay a little bit longer in, and that's fine too. There's lots of options. Take a breath in and an exhale. And on the inhale, let's start to roll that left foot back in if you've pushed it out. Let's bring the weight onto the hands instead of the forearms. Let's tuck the right toes underneath and lift the right knee. And then we're going to step it forward to a squat. So take your time. We're going to lift that right leg away from the back and bring it forward to the outside of the hand. So you've got both feet and both hands at the top of the mat. My own couch is in my way. So once you've got the legs spread a little bit and hands on floor, you can start to lower into the squat. If you know that you've landed poorly, you can feel free to move it around. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're just trying to find our way to a vaguely accessible squat position at 6:30 in the morning. And once you've got there and you found a little bit of comfort, maybe pushing the elbows against the knees, hands in prayer, opening out with the chest a little bit, lifting things nice and tall. If you find that you're kind of hunching over a little bit, try to think about sitting the weight backwards, opening things out just a little bit extra. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's drop the hands towards the floor so that we can push into them. And let's lift everything upright, straightening the legs as much as we can. And then let's roll the torso upright as well until everything is back in our standing position. We've still got legs spread. So if you're on the mat pointing forward, let's turn to the side, but keep the legs spread. And we'll come for a forward fold. So we'll bring the hands to the hips, take a breath in. Inhale to lengthen and grow. And on the exhale, folding the torso towards the floor, aiming for our 90-degree angle, and then maybe reaching the hands towards the mat as well. If you want to, you can separate the legs out a little bit further so that the hands can reach more towards the floor. You can start to tip the head towards the floor as well, that's fine. And if the whole thing feels like it's too much weight or too much difficulty in the legs, feel free to bend the knees. It's not necessary for the legs to be fully straight. Take a breath in and an exhale. Breathe in and another exhale. Take one last breath in here. And one more exhale, getting as deep as you want to get for just a second. And on the next inhale, let's lift up onto the fingertips. So we've got a sort of halfway lift going on. And then let's bring the hands to the hips, tuck the chin towards the chest, and inhale to lift the torso upright. If you feel like you've spread the legs too far, like I have, feel free to wiggle them back in a little bit towards the middle. And I'm going to take a big inhale. And on the exhale, point the toes towards either side of the mat. And we're going to start to bend down over this right leg until we can reach the floor with the hands. And we're going to tip up onto the left heel. If you want to keep the hands on the floor, you can keep the hands on the floor, that's fine. And wiggle around as much as you need to so that it makes sense, that's fine too. If you don't need to have the hands on the floor, says I, testing the water, maybe you can bring the hands to the center of the chest and try to hold a prayer position. Think about tucking in with the ribs a little bit, keeping the column of the body strong so that this is difficult as a balance, but we're still capable of sitting there. If you find that you're going to fall out of it, fall forward, drop the hands, not the end of the world. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, if the hands aren't down, let's bring them back down to the mat and we're going to swap sides. So pivoting onto the left foot, we're going to lift everything up through the middle and we're going to come down, bending that left leg on the opposite side, pivoting onto the right heel. And same thing goes if you find the balance, you can bring the hands to prayer, center of the chest, letting the torso grow strong and nice and long, maybe tucking the ribs in to keep the column nice and strong in the middle. Breathe in and exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's drop the hands back down to the mat. We're going to come back through center for a second forward fold. So flatten the right foot onto the floor, bring it back through center so the legs are more equal. And let's lift everything back upright. Bring the hands to the hips and lift it all back up to standing. So we're going to come for our second Prasarita. So pigeon toe the toes back in towards one another. We're going to bring the arms behind the back, interlace the fingers together, maybe pulling the shoulder blades in towards one another if you've got space. Breathe in and grow tall. And on the exhale, let's fold the torso forward and down. Same thing, second side as on the first. And if you have got the space in the shoulders this morning, you can feel free to lift the hands from the lower spine and let them operate as a lever. Inhale. And exhale, same thing goes. If you need to bend the knees, just bend the knees. Take one more inhale. And one more exhale. On the next breath in, let's start to lift everything upright at once. Take your time about it if you need to, lifting that torso upright, dropping the hands back out to the sides. Let's point the left toes back towards the top of the mat, and then let's step the right foot forward to join it. Amazing. So you're going to leave the right foot where it is, and we're going to step the left foot out behind us to get ready for our triangle, opposite side. So pulling that left foot into 45 degrees, let's bring the arms to parallel, and inhale, reach that right arm forward as far as we can.
And exhale, right hand down towards the floor, left arm up towards the ceiling. Same thing goes here. If you want to look at the foot, that's fine. But otherwise, maybe on the inhale, start to look up towards the sky, twisting the chest towards the ceiling a little extra as well. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's look down towards the right foot if we're not looking already. Let's inhale, swoop the arms back through the middle. And then let's separate that right leg and push it out towards the sides of the mat. Give yourself plenty of space. And then let's float the hands down to the inside of the right leg. Right knee will bend. Have a look back at your left foot and pivot onto the left toes. So same thing here as on the first side. Maybe rocking forwards and backwards a little bit. Maybe you want to drop the knee, and that's far enough. Maybe you want to come to the forearms, or if you fancy it, you can reach the right arm away and use it to push that right leg open out to the side, so the outer edge of the right foot is on the mat. Wherever you're at, keep the inhale and the exhale going. This can feel super intense, and nobody's saying that you need to stay in the same position the whole way through. You could roll the foot back in, you could come back to the hands. It's totally up to you. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's roll the foot back in if we've not done that already. Let's bring it back to the hands. Make sure that we've got really good strength in the hands. And then let's tuck the left toes underneath. Let's lift the left leg. And we're going to come forward for our squat again on this side. So maybe shuffle the left leg in a little bit and then take the full step forward, starting to drop the bum towards the floor, bringing the hands to the center of the chest in a prayer. Breathe in, lengthen through the spine and the chest. And exhale, bear with it just a little bit. Inhale. And exhale. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's lower the hands towards the mat. And let's use the power of the hands. Push into them to start to straighten the legs. Let's bring the hands towards the hips. And let's inhale, lifting the torso upright. Not easy at all. Cool. So same thing has happened. We're facing the front of the mat in our squat pose. So turn it to the side. And we're going to take our forward fold, our Prasarita. So a different one this time. We're going to keep the hands on the hips. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, fold the torso forward and down. And then maybe reaching the arms out in front. So we're sort of tipping all of the weight forward, which might add quite a lot of strain in the backs of the legs. Breathe in to reach. And exhale to hold. Inhale. Same thing, if you need to, just bend the knees, get a little bit of relief. And exhale. Take one more breath in here. And on the exhale, let's bring the hands back towards the hips, tuck the chin towards the chest, and let's breathe in to lift everything upright. Amazing. Let's keep the hands on the hips. If you've spread the legs really, really far, you can shuffle them back in a little bit. We're going to point the toes out towards the edges of the mat, and we're going to come for our same sitting down into our little sideways lunges. So have a little think about bending over that right leg, maybe dropping the hands to the floor and turning onto that left heel. You might find that you land funny or that you need to change the kind of space and direction a little bit. So I need to shuffle my left leg out so that I can come properly onto my left heel. Once you're there, same thing goes. Maybe you've got the space to bring the arms to prayer. Maybe the balance just isn't there, and that's absolutely fine. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. So hard to balance. And exhale, lowering the hands to the floor. And let's come down onto the flat of the left foot. We're going to swap sides. So using the hands to come to the opposite side, bending over that left knee, right heel, pivot it onto. And then same thing, once we're there, maybe we can bring the hands to prayer. It's not worth falling out of this. You're quite close to the floor and it's easy to face plant. So if you find that the balance is just too challenged, definitely drop the hands back to the mat. It's really not that important. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale.
And on the exhale, let's lower the hands back to the mat. And we're going to come back to our central position. So let's come onto the flat of the right foot. And then let's bring it back through center. We're going to take our last forward fold. So we're going to bring the hands to the hips. Inhale to stand upright. And we're going to take our fourth Prasarita D. So you can pigeon toe the toes back in towards one another. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, let's fold the torso forward and down. And once we're there in a comfortable position, we're going to reach the hands down towards the legs. You can hang on to the outside of the legs if you wish. You can reach for the big toes and hook the peace fingers around them if you fancy it. Totally up to you what you prefer. And you can always change the leg position. You can spread the legs further. You can bring them in closer to one another. Totally up to you. And if you fancy bending the knees at any point, bend the knees. No big deal. Take a breath in and an exhale. Take one more inhale and one last exhale. And on the breath in, let's release the hands back to the hips and lift the torso upright. And then we're going to point one foot back to the top of the mat and we're going to step the other foot forward to join it. Let's release the hands down, maybe give the legs a little bit of a shake and a wiggle, especially if the ankles got a little bit of a beating during one of the forward folds, which is what happens to me. And then we're going to come to our familiar territory. Take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead, gaze up. And exhale, fold the hands down to the mat, bend the knees as much as you like. Let's inhale to the fingertips or hands on shins is still fine. And exhale, let's plant the hands, step or jump it back to our plank, and let's lower it down, your choice of how. Let's inhale forward to our cobra or upward dog. And let's exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips back up, downward dog. Take one breath in here. And on the exhale, let's bend the knees and let's come forward to our sitting position. Groovy. We're going to pop both legs out in front. We're going to come for another forward fold or Paschimottanasana. So these are all quite different and they can be a challenge in different ways. So I think Paschimottanasana might be quite friendly today because we've prepared for it a lot with the other forward folds. But equally, we've asked a lot of the legs. So maybe the legs might be a bit tired. So let's take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead. And on the exhale, let's float the torso forward and down, maybe looping onto the big toes with the peace fingers if you've got space. And if you don't have space, anywhere on the legs is absolutely fine. Taking a big breath in, maybe using the exhale to go a little bit deeper. Breathe in. And exhale. Take one more inhale. And one last exhale. And on the breath in, let's release the hands. Let's lift them up overhead. And let's exhale them out to the sides. Lovely. Let's cross the legs over and take a little bit of a twist. It's totally up to you how fancy you want your leg crossing to be. It does not need to be very fancy at all. And we're going to bring the right hand to the outer edge of the left leg. We're going to bring the left hand behind us onto the mat. Take a breath in and grow super tall. And on the exhale, starting to twist the torso around to the side. Take your time about it if you fancy it, really using the torque of both hands against the body to help you go a little bit further. Think about the hips and the ribs, the chest, the shoulders, and maybe eventually you can turn the head to look out over the left shoulder. If you find at any point that you've just gone too far or that you've caused some kind of pain or discomfort, just dial it back. It doesn't need to be the biggest twist in the world. Take a breath in and an exhale. One more inhale. And on the exhale, let's release it all back to center, nice and relaxed. And let's go to the opposite side. So left hand to the outside of the right leg. Bring the right hand behind us on the mat. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's start to twist, thinking about the hips, the ribs, the chest, the shoulders, and then eventually the head if you wish. Twists are funny. You might find that one side of it goes really, really deep, but that on the other side, I don't know, there's a crick in your neck or an arm feels weird or something in your ribs isn't very nice. It's fine if it's not as deep on one side as the other. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's start to bring it all back around to center. And then let's have a little wiggle, one side to the other, giving the torso a bit of a chance to just undo everything that we've done to it. And then we're going to separate the legs back out and we're going to spread them to the side. So this is sort of like when we were standing, we spent a lot of time like this. The comfort of this section depends completely on your flexibility. I don't have a lot of flexibility to spread my legs very far. So I usually find this a bit of a slog because all I want to do is lie down backwards, right? Someone who's got more flexibility will probably be able to sit a little bit taller. So that's part of the challenge that goes with this. So you're going to reach the left hand down towards the left foot and see how close to it we can come. You'll probably feel a bit of a stretch down the back of the left leg, or you may not feel it at all. Totally, depends on the person. Let's check the right one. So we're going to reach the right hand towards the right foot, looping along the outside. Maybe that's trickier, maybe it's easier, depends on the person. I'm going to bring it back through center. We're going to take the opportunity to have a little bit of a flowing play with our seat. So we're going to reach left hand to left foot, right hand to right foot in accordance with the breathing. It's not difficult to get a grasp of, and everyone's going to look different doing it. So when you look at your screen, you're going to see everyone doing it completely differently because it depends on speed. So take a big breath in, lengthen through the spine. And on the exhale, left hand to left foot, take a little flow. Inhale. Exhale back through center. Let's bring the right hand to the right foot. Inhale to lift a little bit. And coming back through center, exhale, left hand to left foot. Maybe on this side, you could reach the right arm overhead and start dipping it towards the left toes. And then round it all back through center, right hand to right foot. Inhale, bring that left arm overhead, maybe as though you could dip the fingers to the toes. So we've got a couple of different options here, and it depends on you. You can totally change the flow around if you fancy. You can go faster, you can go slower. We're just trying to open up a little bit of space in the side of the body and in the legs, just a little bit extra. Maybe it'll happen in the hips too. This isn't necessarily the easiest thing to achieve. So you can take your time and go nice and slowly and make big circuits through the middle, or you can make this all a lot faster, like a proper exercise. Depends on the person. But have a think about what all the parts of the body are doing. Don't forget about the spine, maybe lengthening through it at each side, however you can. Let's take one last little flow from one side to the other, however you choose to do it. And then we'll bring it back through center. Dropping the arms back down by the sides. And gloriously, let's bring the legs back together in the middle. Maybe give them a little bit of a shake. And we'll take our little Janu Shirshasana before we come to our closing and our finishing sequence. So we'll pull the right knee in towards the chest as tight as we can. We'll drop it out to the side of the torso, pushing the sole against the inside of the thigh. And take a big breath in, arms up overhead. Twist a little bit to the left and see if we can fold forward over the left foot. Because we spent quite a bit of time playing around with turning the body and torquing in our twist and in our little hand to foot poses, maybe Janu Shirshasana is a little bit easier today than it usually is. Take a big breath in, and on the exhale, maybe start to tip the torso back towards center, maybe bending the elbows out to the side, lowering the head if you've got extra space. Equally, you might just want to use this as a bit of a relax, and it's fine to use something as a bit of a relax. Take a breath in and an exhale. And on the inhale, let's start to release the hands. Let's lift them up overhead, grow super tall. And exhale them down to the side. Let's pop the right leg out in front and pull the left leg into the chest, knees bent. Let's drop the leg out to the side, roll the sole of the foot against the inside of the thigh, and take a breath in, arms up overhead. Let's twist a little bit to the right and fold forward over that right foot. Same thing goes. Maybe this is a little bit easier because of all of the opening we've done in the hips and the legs. Equally, maybe you're just exhausted at this point, or maybe the torso and the legs still feel a little stiff, all fine. Wherever you're at, take big inhales
And use the exhale to maybe push a little bit further, thinking about tipping the torso back towards the center line. Breathe in. And exhale, feel free to fold forward a little extra, dropping the head if you want to. Take one more inhale. And one more exhale. And on the breath in, let's release the hands. Let's lift the arms up overhead, grow super tall. And exhale the arms out to the side. Let's pop the left leg in front. Make sure you've got lots of space behind you. Stretch the arms out ahead. And let's lower it down to our lying position. Ooh. Same thing as always. Once you're there, make sure that your back feels as comfortable as it can feel. It's possible with all of our flowing through one side to the other that the lower back might be a little bit tense. So if that's happening, don't worry about it. A little bit of tension's okay. We're going to come for our back bends. We're going to do 2 of them. So it's totally up to you which ones you choose to do. If you're coming for bridge, you can lower the feet to the floor so knees are bent towards the ceiling, pulling the legs in towards the bum. And then on a breath in, lifting the hips off the floor, gaining as much height as possible, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling as far as we can. And it's up to you what you want to do with the hands. We've practiced with the fingers interlaced behind us a lot during a session. So maybe you can bring them to that position, rolling onto the sides of the arms, pulling the shoulder blades in, really pushing out through the knees and down into the feet. This one is all about trying to gain height by using the strength of the legs. So we're really focusing on knees and feet as much as possible. It's not so much about what you do with the hands, which is why the variations are open to whatever you like. Breathe in to lift up. And exhale to hold the position. Take one more inhale. And on the exhale, let's start to release everything down. Upper back, middle back, lower back to the mat. Maybe rocking the legs from one side to the other. If there's a different process or procedure that you prefer, or if something feels super tight in the body, do whatever you need to do to relieve it. That's fine. And then we're going to take our second back bend. So you can choose to do the same one. You can do the same bridge that we've just done, or you can take a full wheel, or you can do something in between. You could take a bridge with lots of variations. You could take a supported bridge with a block underneath the sacrum. Totally up to you, but let's get ready. So we're all trying to lift the hips towards the ceiling at the same time, whether that's in our bridge or full wheel. Really thinking always about the knees and the feet. The more we think about putting pressure on the legs to hold us upright, the better a chance we've got of getting a little bit higher with the hips as well. So have the legs do some work for you. Breathing in and exhaling. Take one more breath in. And on the exhale, let's start to release everything down to the mat. And maybe let's pull the knees in towards the chest. Wrap the arms around the legs. Give yourself a nice long hug. If wrapping the arms around the legs feels a little bit enclosing or you just don't like it, you can do something else instead. You can rock a little bit forwards and backwards, side to side. Maybe you prefer the windshield wipering with the knees. That's absolutely fine too. It's all just about relieving any of that tension that we've built up, especially in the lower spine. Take a breath in. And on the exhale, let's lower the feet back towards the mat and let's get ready for our Shavasana. So take a couple of seconds, point the toes towards the corners of the mat. If you need a jumper or socks or a blanket on a day when it's going to be 22 degrees, but who knows, your house might be cold. Get as ready as you need to get for Shavasana and take a breath in. And on the exhale, maybe closing the eyes, letting the body get really, really heavy on the floor. Feeling the different points of the body and where they are. So back of the head, maybe the shoulders and the backs of the arms, maybe the palms of the hands. Maybe the middle or lower back, depending on how you lie, the hips and the bum, backs of the calves and the heels. Letting them all get really heavy against the floor, almost like the floor could rise up to meet you.
bringing the breath to something that's shallow and easy to maintain. And we let the body have a full relax for a few short minutes. Let's start to bring a little movement back into the fingers and toes. Maybe rotating the wrists and the ankles, or dropping the head from one side to another. And maybe on an inhale, you can reach the arms up overhead and take a big long stretch. Tips of the fingers to the bottoms of the toes. And exhale, rounding the spine, pulling the knees in towards the chest, maybe giving yourself a little hug. Maybe rock a little bit from one side to another. And then when you're ready, any way you choose, we'll come back to where we started, sitting on the mat. Once we're there, we'll bring the hands to prayer, center of the chest. We'll inhale the prayer up and exhale it down. Little thanks to everyone who joined us.